2003 saw the release of Freddy vs. Jason. After years of rumours and waiting, the slasher icons finally got to go head to head, bringing the worlds of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th together. The movie went on to become a huge hit, but didn't go down amazingly at the time with all the fans of either franchise. This has so far been the only time the two maniacs have shared the big screen together, and was the last time Robert Englund played Kreuger. Friend of the podcast, Ian Pointer, joins me to look back on Freddy vs. Jason. Welcome to Beyond Graves and Stars as we once again venture Elm Street and Beyond.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.
Welcome to my nightmare.
We're not safe awake or asleep.
Why won't you die? Freddy versus Jason.
Place your bets.
Ian, welcome to the podcast. It's been a while.
It has been a while, yeah.
How you been?
Not too bad, yes, yeah.
You
No, keeping it going.
keep them real.
Keep 'em real.
Yeah, last time you was on we done the Fly original and the remake,
Oh, that was the last one, yeah.
and that was fun.
Yeah.
And movies that are, I'd say, a million miles away from this.
I would say.
A 50s classic B movie and an even more classic remake to 2003's Freddy vs. Jason, which was a massive box office hit. They're coming together of two franchises. This happened a few times around this era. We had Alien vs. Predator as well. And much like the Alien vs. Predator, they'd done two of those movies. This was a huge box office hit. Didn't do so well critically, and almost forgotten now. It's one of those films that people still talk about, the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies, hence this little mini season, and Friday the 13th is talked about a lot. And actually on its way back, there was a short film released this year, and looks like there's going to be another big movie coming out, and next year I'm going to be tackling those movies. Your history, I know you've not watched them for a while, and if I'm not mistaken, you've not seen Friday the 13th.
I'm not really familiar at all with Friday the 13th.
No.
Again, it's one of those things, I've seen bits of it, but never really I wouldn't be able to tell you how many there are or anything. I saw more of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and I sort of remember the sort of third one, but they're not really two franchises that I've really sort of been on board with, because I think once you do the first one, you kind of it's already there. The story doesn't need to go any further, but I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And had you seen this one before?
I had seen this one before. I didn't realise it was 2003. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I saw it. I didn't see it at the cinema. I think it was. I think it was late at night with my brother. And
Yeah. So it is that sort of sit around, have some beers kind of film, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, 22 years ago, that's mad. I saw it in cinema, and I thought it was going to lead to more films, more crossovers. But I remember at the time being excited. I obviously, hence I'm doing this, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I am a fan of Friday the 13th, but I've become more of a fan over the years after going to the Comic-Cons, meeting some of the cast and rewatching the films for that reason. And with this, I remember I did enjoy it when it first came out, but my thoughts were, it could have been so much better. And watching it now, I can't say that's changed, but I think it's like a time capsule of that era of the early 2000s. It's the only time we've seen Robert Englund play Freddy Kreuger post Scream, and to me, this movie is very post Scream. You can't the whole
Scream.
Scream, the Scream franchise, because the whole irony of Scream, they're very aware of horror movies, and in this one, it starts with a group of teenagers, and to me, that feels less real than in the Freddy films, and more like it's spoofing them. I think I don't know. It might be just since that sort of era of horrors, you can't take the group of teenagers as seriously as we used to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it was a typical teenage horror of the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You have a group of girls and these sort of douchebag boys coming in. It was very sort of typical. And as it started, I was wondering, is this going to be a sort of spoof? And it was a tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, wasn't it?
It was, and that's why I see it as, especially this time watching it, it's not really a horror film. There's action and there's gore, but not scares really.
No.
Obviously, a young child would be scared just of the imagery.
Yeah.
But it's very. It starts off like one of the originals. The basic premise is it's set after they forget a new nightmare where Freddy goes into the real world, and it's set after Nightmare on Elm Street 6 where Freddy's been killed, or kind of killed, and in this he wants to come back, but he needs the humans to be scared of him, so he sends Jason into Elm Street, the Elm Street in the town he's from, to do some murdering, so that the memory of him is sparked, and they're talking about him again, and for whatever reason that can bring him back. But Jason is Jason, and once he's done that, won't go away, and that therefore Freddy versus Jason, they go at it. To me, it starts off your typical Nightmare on Elm Street film, and then the second half it turns into, I'd say, an action beat 'em up type film with the scenes of Freddy against Jason. And I'll be honest, I like those scenes because I feel, I don't know what you think, the first half you are waiting for them to battle, and the teenage characters aren't strong enough to keep your attention. It is like you're constantly waiting, and for that there's a fairly good cast, and you've got Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child is one of the.
Oh, that's who it was.
And I think she's fairly good. And then I felt she was killed off too quickly. It was just not too quickly in the film, but it wasn't a big enough death for you think 2003, she was a big star then, more your music and TV than film, but she was the name bar Robert Englund, who not carried the film, but on the film, if that makes sense. Yeah. But that's the thing. I felt the teenage cast were quite good, but they weren't given enough to do.
Yeah. Or they were given too much to do. I don't know. There's two ways of looking at it. I think they seem to be sort of jumping all over the place. But what I think this is really the fact that I sort of don't really know those two franchises. This film worked for me because the first scenes they gave like a backstory of both sides, so you don't necessarily need to have seen all the other ones. It kind of gave you that right. This is what Freddy's story is. This is what Jason's story is, and that really worked for me because I thought, oh, that's great, because now I don't need to think back and try and think we need to do all that. So it's suitable for people not familiar, as it gives an outline of the history of both franchises. So that worked for me, and then it just jumps then into just silly nudity and then blood and brutality, which is typical, and I can completely expect it.
Yeah. You give a very good point there about. I mean, this will be the 8th time Robert Englund played Freddy Kreuger. There were, I believe, 10 Friday the 13th films before this, and I think that's the sensible way to do it. For hardcore fans, they might think, oh, well, there's not enough references to all these films, but I'm glad of that, because that would clutter up the film in a way if there's 18 films to put clever references to or throwbacks. And it was 9 years after the last Freddy Kreuger film, so I think in a way they wanted to get new fans. They'd be fully aware that there'd be 18-year-olds going to see this movie who had either not seen the original ones or casually seen them, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that's definitely a plus of the film. So newbies, so to speak, could come in and still enjoy it. That's true. But I think at the time, the hardcore fans didn't like that. But it's a coming together two franchises, but the fact that it works as a standalone film is a good thing. Yes. And I think they plan to do sequels after this, and for whatever reason, probably more rights reasons than anything, they didn't. There was talk of a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash from Evil Dead. They're all on board. The cast were on board. Robert Englund had signed a contract, I believe, and Bruce Campbell same, but because of the studio rights. Right. That's why that never happened. There was a comic book though, but not the same. Yeah. And the reason this took so long was the rights with New Line. I believe it was them. They bought the Jason franchise. And Jason Goes to Hell Part 9 ends with you see Freddy's glove, and then they've done another film, and then this. So it's all a bit all over the place. But when we finally got it, I feel the bubble had burst a bit for both franchises. As in, when you think Nightmare on Elm Street, you think Friday the 13th, you think 1980s, and the 80s are nearly a decade and a half over. But it was a hit. It cost 30 million, and I believe it made 116 million, which is a big hit. You double your profits to be a hit, and this is 4 times that nearly. So that's good. But I think it was that people went out of interest, and I'm not so sure at the time people really enjoyed it as much as they were expecting. But with something like this, the hype would always be, wouldn't it? It's like, say, just very quick, could you name your 2 favourite franchises?
2 favourite franchises, but it depends what you mean by franchises. I can't really think off the top of my head. I mean, would you? What you mean, horror ones?
Or just in general?
Franchises. I mean, would you say Back to the Future?
Back to the Future is definitely
a franchise. And I would say, you know what? I can't actually think.
I'm going to say, because I know you like, say Doctor Who, right?
If you're talking about...
in general,
it could be Doctor Who, it could be... Can
you imagine if there was a movie of the characters from Back to the Future crossover with Doctor Who? It should work, but how would they do that, and would it work? Do you know what I mean? And I feel that was what happened with this. As in, everyone liked the idea of Freddy and Jason coming together, but no matter what, it would disappoint people. And I feel that's what happened. But looking back, that was 22 years ago. They haven't done much with either franchise since. And I think this is the time to watch it, and you can enjoy it without expectations.
That's true.
I thought it was 97 minutes. It flew by. I was never bored, even though I'm quite hungover.
That's true. It was consistent.
Yeah,
always.
And it was, you had the kills. It starts with a really good one with one of the teenagers on a fold-out bed, and then it folds together, and he sort of almost
snaps in the middle.
And I thought that was a good. That's very in the tradition of the classic, more Freddy films, I'd say, with the over-the-top death. I like that. Other than that, though, there's a lot of gore, and for me, I don't want to say ruined, but it looks so CGI some of it, and that for me isn't these films. It's the old ones are all about the practical effects, and I found that quite distracting. I think they wanted so much blood and so much gore, and it almost looked like a cheap film.
But that was the sign of the time, really. If you're talking about 2003, I mean, that was my last year of university when CGI was really coming into it, and you were getting these filters that you could put on your videos and stuff that you were publishing. So it seems like it was just kind of that put in, rather than a studio putting it specifically to make it look realistic, which would be a budget thing maybe. So I'm okay with that though. I'm okay with it looking silly. I thought if it's too realistic, I'd then be questioning, well, Jason wouldn't be that tough, or Freddy wouldn't be able to come into the real world and still have all those physical powers that he did in the, So I think I'm okay with it being sort of low budget.
I for me, it's that it really makes it look different from, apart from maybe Jason X, which is quite the same, made not too far around that. But when you see the practical effects, like there's a scene where the stoner kid literally gets cut in half.
Yeah.
That to me looks like and feels like the older ones. But you are very right, it is of its time. And if there was to make a movie like this now, I think everyone likes the 80s retro and stuff now.
Yeah.
So that people would want it to look like the old ones. Whereas then, I think they wanted it to look of its time. It was like, okay, we're in 2003, so are Freddy, so is Jason. That's what it should be. So I totally get it. It's just a minor little thing for me. And it also the fact that over the last 7 or 8 weeks, I have watched one of the Freddy films a week. So I notice it more than if I hadn't. But I think Robert Englund is great in it as ever. And he's got more one-liners than ever as well.
And I think he really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
he looked like he was really having fun on that.
That's the thing. And Robert Englund, I think if it wasn't for his age and what happened with the rights of the franchise, he'd still be happily playing Freddy Kreuger now. There is talks of him doing a animated version, sort of rumours of that, which I think that could work if done properly. Obviously not a kids animated film, but I've said this on other podcasts, I'm surprised there wasn't a Freddy cartoon in the 80s because it was everywhere. But yeah, I think he's really good. And you've got Ken Kirzinger as Jason. It's, to my knowledge, the only time he's ever played him. And I thought, he's just a stuntman, essentially, and that's where he comes from. But he's got presence, he's big. And, there was a talk at the time, the most popular person to play Jason was Kane Hodder, who played him several times. And there was a bit of why isn't he in this one?
Right.
For whatever reason he isn't, but I think the guy who done it was pretty good. I think it's another it's one of those roles you'd think would be easy, but you need someone with the presence. You need and I can't fault him in it, to be honest. I saw him at a Comic-Con once. I didn't meet him, but he looked. There's a photo. I've got a picture of me meeting someone, and he's in the background looking at me, literally like I'm a piece of shit. And I'll put it on. I'll put it on the link on Facebook, and I'm like, he's scary. And I don't know what I've done or what I said, or if it's just a coincidence, but he's in the background, look like glaring at me, and I'm like, it might be because I didn't get his autograph and I got somebody else's. But yeah, he's been in loads of stuff, mainly as a stuntman, ranging from The Earth Stood Still, 13 Ghosts, Second Ace Ventura, loads and loads of stuff. And and if they were, it's probably a bit old now, but I'd be perfectly happy with him playing him again. And then you've got the teenagers. We've mentioned Kelly Rowland, who, big star at the time. But the other one who stood out, I'm trying to find her name. There's a brilliant, it's Catherine Isabella, who played Gib. He's in Ginger Snaps, the werewolf franchise. If you've not seen them, I really recommend it. 3 films. Low budget, teenage werewolf, very good. And it was good to see her in something else because I haven't seen that much with her in. But yeah, I feel the cast are good, but I couldn't I didn't attach myself to any of the characters.
No.
There was no it was like they know
Yeah.
everybody wants to see Freddy and Jason. So what's the point of having
Yeah.
particular protagonists?
I was going to say that I wasn't really on board with any of the those characters. They had to be in it,
Yeah.
and they had to be representing teenagers,
Yeah.
But I wasn't on board with any of them, particularly the men. The boys. It's just, but then that's.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, any of them could die,
Yeah, and Monica Keena was Laura, who was kind of turned into the main one, and she was the final girl, so to speak. Who she was in Devil's Advocate, While You're Sleeping, and I think now a lot of TV stuff. Entourage, she was in Entourage. If you
I did see Entourage, yeah.
Yeah, as well, and also she was a sort of mini recurring character in Dawson's Creek. So that can tell you the era she was big in. She was fine, but I think a lot of the female characters were very sexualized in this. But I feel, in a way, because it's 2003, it was almost spoofing the old ones, which have that reputation. Especially the Friday the 13th films, where there is, at the beginning in this, you mentioned the nudity.
Yeah.
I think that was put in as a throwback to the older ones, because around that time you get it a bit, but not as much as that. And it was that there was nothing sexy about the film.
No.
It was just, for use of a better word, stupid, but stupid on purpose.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it kind of had that sort of hammy creep factor and silly jump scares to it,
Yeah.
and then a sudden bit of nudity where everyone would be like going, "Oh, look!"
Yeah.
But I've got a question with the franchise, with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Were they, just out of curiosity, were they mostly white? Because he made a comment at the end. He made a comment at the end.
Dark meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is one of the. So I've rewatched the Freddy films, and I'd say 95% of the because you've got in part 5, there's Kelly Jo Minter as a Afro-American black character. I always say the wrong term, and I don't mean to.
Right.
And there's a few others throughout the franchise, but and that's something that is kind of criticised with this. He makes up, but I think it's a joke, and he's a nasty character, so you can get away with it. But, and I'm not going to say it because of vulgarisms, she says a homophobic slur to him, which you wouldn't use in a film now from a good character. It's the same slur is actually used in Bill and Ted, and there's a little warning at the front of it now. But 22 years ago. Yeah. So there is that, and I just find it strange that one of the protagonists is homophobic towards him for no reason. But that's a sign of the times. But it was. They are very white films, aren't they? But it's set in that small town America on one street.
Well, that works with the one street sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does point it out, and it is one of those. It's one of the memorable bits. But I don't see that as. I'm sure you don't either as a racist thing, but some people might.
No.
But it stands out, doesn't it? I would have mentioned that if you didn't, sort of thing. But it's just certainly an interesting film. There are things like that. As I say, it is like that time capsule from that. So even the soundtrack is very like new metal. You've got those sort of Korn type bands, and if it was made now, I don't know if you've had that sort of sound. You don't really get pop songs in films.
Well, it's licensing and stuff as well. They can't really. It's like the film Dogma. You can't stream. Well, you'll probably be able to find it, but you can't really stream that anywhere because it's got so many pop songs at the time. Yeah. And like Tomb Raider as well. Their soundtrack was the pop songs of the time, and there's a licensing.
And they'd sell a CD soundtrack or vinyl even. It's interesting with Dogma. That's getting a cinema re-release soon. And that was held up because the Weinsteins made it. And with him being in prison and various reasons, they couldn't reissue it. And now Kevin Smith, the director, has got the rights to it. And it's getting a big Blu-ray release and a little cinema release as well. And that would have been a few years before this. But I'd lump that in with this sort of era of films.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But another thing about the characters, because I feel like we're seeing a continuation from before. So Was the last one, let's say the previous one that leads into this one,
Yeah.
were those guys in the institution, were they from
No.
Nightmare on Elm Street? Or because it feels like that we're continuing something that had happened before, but they weren't.
Those characters weren't, but I think it's playing on how Freddy went after the kids in that one town, or he went after certain kids. But one thing that works with it in a way, the last film, this is set after Part 6, which was made in 91, but that was set 10 years in the future. So really, it's not, time-wise, it's not that long after it, whereas there was that gap, which was, I'd say, a lucky coincidence, because they set it 10 years in the future to get it away from Part 5 because it didn't continue. But timeline-wise, that works. But obviously, actors would be 10 years older, so there's different characters now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's that brief scene, but there's no references to the main kids. Like Alice was the main protagonist who survived Part 5. Isn't in Part 6, but I think a lot of fans would have wanted that character back specifically.
Yeah.
But as I said previously, I think it works not bringing them back. But yeah, the whole sort of mental institution part is a recurring thing in the Nightmare on Elm Streets. As Part 3 set in one, and then so it is a bit like there's just these random new teenagers, but I see why.
Yeah. And another thing to sort of summarise this, I mean, would you say it's sort of 60% Nightmare on Elm Street and 40% Friday the 13th?
Excuse me, yeah. That's something I was about to say. It definitely feels more Nightmare on Elm Street than it does Friday the 13th to me. And that might be because of the whole Elm Street thing. Whereas you'd expect a lot of summer camp type stuff for Jason. But it's Freddy brought Jason into his world is how the film plays.
That's true. Yeah, because the menace of the nightmare wasn't really the centric point.
No.
You know, that fear of going to sleep and then finding, that...
Yeah.
It wasn't really centric, it was just part of it.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the fear comes from in the other ones, the horror side of it, which is another reason why I feel it... I don't see this as a horror film. It's got... the horror characters, but there's no real, you don't feel scared for any of the characters, and you just want to see those two go at it, fighting. I mean, not sexually. That would be a different film.
There's probably a comic of that sort.
Or Frederick versus Fred Dick. No, so yeah, that's the whole. And obviously, this episode is in my Elm Street and Beyond mini season. And I feel that works because I am going to do a season on the Jason films. Really, I should have done this as a special.
Yeah.
But it works with the Nightmare on Elm Street films more, I'd say.
Yeah.
And personally, not that you should root for either of them, but I root for Freddy more when watching it because he talks and he's not just a killing machine. He's got personality. And that's why I've always preferred Freddy, I think.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think it's a fun bit of typical teen horror.
Yes, teen is the word as well, isn't it?
It is that sort of teen film. I mean, it had a little bit of humour. I think it could have done with a little bit more, but that's my preference probably. Yeah. But it had a little bit of humour and silliness. It's a fun ride and a good amalgamative horror, shall I say?
Yeah, it's enjoyable for a film that is trying to please a lot of people. That's the thing with this film. It's a money maker, and I think there was the guys who wrote the script were newbies who went on to do other things, and I think there was probably a bit of a script war for this, and what they would have done is pick the movie which was the cheapest to make, that ticks all the boxes really. Yes, Damon Shannon and Mark Swift wrote it, who they went on to write, they'd done the Friday the 13th reboot, which in 2009, which I've got to say, I'm going to rewatch it when I do next year, but I remember really hating that. And then since have done like TV and stuff, and they wrote the Baywatch reboot as well, which was another sort of failed attempt. But they're directed by Ronnie Yu, who he'd come from Hong Kong and done a lot of movies over there, like action ones, I presume. I haven't seen any of them from the 70s. So acclaimed actor who'd done loads of stuff. But a few years before this, in '98, he'd done Bride of Chucky, which was a big hit, and like rebooting in a way that franchise. And I reckon that's what got him the job. And he's only done 2 films since, but he's probably getting on by then. So I reckon they basically got a established good but probably cheap director in, who they thought could just, as I say, he's a money maker, but some films are, and that's in a way what franchises are about, isn't it? It's making the money but also pleasing the fans. And I think overall, looking back, this was a success. It does what it's supposed to. It'll be no one's favourite from any franchise, but it's also, I'd say, a difficult film to hate.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't say I hate it. It's a really sort of fun ride, and the acting wasn't that bad.
It's what it's supposed to be. No one stood out as being bad. Some quite good performances actually from like the dad who would like morph in and out of Freddy. He's a familiar face who I think certain actors are great at playing dads, aren't they? Which is cool.
Wasn't he in Adventureland? Was he?
He could have been. Yeah,
was he the dad in, or maybe someone that looks like him?
Possibly, but he's got that sort of.
Yeah.
I can't think of the actor's name. Yeah. Then you've got the cop played by Lachlan Monroe, who's in loads of stuff, and a very likeable actor who has done loads of TV, loads of films. He seems to always play a cop. But I think he was in like White Chicks just after this, and a Guy Thing, if you remember that comedy. A Little Man, loads of stuff. He's did loads of credits and good character actors. And we mentioned Kelly Rowland, who's a name but not a huge. One thing with this, there's no big star in it because the selling points are Jason and Robert Englund, obviously. So I think that's good. If there was a big name, that might distract the audience. If you had, say, Sharon Tatum or someone like that in it. So that works for it. It obviously keeps the budget down. Overall just a funnish. And it was made to be a crowd pleaser, but it was always going to disappoint. Much like, say, when Phantom Menace came out, everyone had been waiting for a Star Wars, and then it comes out, and everyone's like, meh. But yeah, I mean, in rewatching these films, I've enjoyed all of them, and this one, I really enjoyed watching it again. But it is different, and different, but trying to be the same. Does that make sense? It feels a bit parody. It feels funner. And it also feels and looks more polished. With the special effects, you don't see the strings, so to speak. Which it's, as we said, 12 years after the one part 6. It does. Thinking about it now, I do wish there was more Friday the 13th in it. That's one thing I feel. Even when it's like the fight scenes, it feels it's very boiler roomy, which is Nightmare on Elm Street. But overall, cool. Maybe if they had have done a sequel to it, it would have gone more the other side. Because spoiler alert, what did you think of that ending with coming out of the water?
No, I always remember that ending.
Yeah,
it's kind of just playing with the audience, isn't it? It's just saying, that's all right, we're just having fun.
So Jason emerges from the lake. Freddy's head, he's holding his head. You're supposed to think Freddy's dead again, and then Freddy winks at the camera,
breaking the fourth wall there.
He does that a lot. And I like that ending because there is no winner. Or you could say, if you're a fan of either franchise, you could say, well, Jason's got his head, what can he do? But then with his reaction, it's Freddy saying, well, actually, I'm in charge all along. So, definitely, they wanted to do another one. I'm disappointed they didn't, and think they still could. but Robert Englund is 76 now, I believe, so it'll be difficult for him, wouldn't it? And so that is the end of the Robert Englund era.
They did do another
They done
Elm Street, didn't they, with a different character?
Different actor, a reboot in 2010, which hopefully will be my next episode, which should be out, all going well, next week. I haven't recorded it yet, so I can't guarantee.
No.
And that's another one that I don't remember particularly liking when it came out, but hindsight is a good thing. I mean, that's 15 years ago now, so I might get more from it.
Worth a rewatch.
Yeah, I think if you're a fan of the franchise, always rewatch a film, because you do go in with expectations, and if they don't live up to them, it doesn't mean it's not a good film. So any more thoughts on this? I mean,
not really. It is what it is. It's exactly what you'd expect it would be. It doesn't offer anything sort of special, but it's one of those things that at the time you would. We didn't have streaming services back then. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have tablets and stuff. So you'd go to the cinema, and these are the sort of things you'd watch on a Saturday evening. You know, and I would have enjoyed it. It would have been just something I would have had the poster on and that. Yeah. But I wouldn't hold. Personally, I wouldn't hold it in high regard.
Yeah, it's
special, and I'm not fussed about rewatching it. But it was definitely worth that rewatch.
Yeah, I mean, I'd consider the first Nightmare on Elm Street, the first Friday the 13th movies, absolute horror classics. Iconic movies. This isn't that.
No.
But it's a fun popcorn movie.
Yeah. Popcorn movie. That's a good way of saying.
Also, it is quite violent, but nothing disturbingly violent in it.
No.
So it's an 18 certificate, so it should be. But it is the sort of thing teenagers. It's not going to traumatise anyone.
No.
It's all right. And if you want to see, I've got the DVD. It can, which I think is out of print, but you can probably pick up a second-hand copy somewhere, and you can rent or buy it on the normal streaming services. One day I hope there's a fancy Blu-ray release with lots of nerdy commentaries and stuff that we can all nerd out on. But certainly not a groundbreaking film, no masterpiece. But I don't think anyone's going to come away from it particularly disappointed, but possibly a forgettable movie, whereas A New Nightmare and stuff like that aren't. They're proper iconic horrors. But yeah, that's basically all we've got to say about that, I suppose.
It's a rating, I guess.
Oh yeah, should we get out of 5? What would you give it?
I'll be honest, I'd just go straight down into the middle. 2.5. It's enjoyable, but nothing.
2.5.
So I'll do.
2.5 out of 5 from you. I'm going to give it a 3, but a strong 3.
Okay.
Which is, that's it means it's good, but no masterpiece. Like I said, I'm just looking at it's kind of Rotten Tomatoes. It's got 41%, which I feel is a little low. 5.7 on IMDb. That's on par with what we're both saying, really, isn't it? Yeah. And right between our two marks, Letterboxd, it's got 2.7 out of 5.
We're about the
we're
same ballpark, really.
Yeah. It is one of those. Yeah, I like the film, but in a way, I wish it was better. But it's such a tough one to do, isn't it? So overall, it's a modestly fun film. So thank you very much, Ian. We're going to get you back.
Yeah.
At some point, we've got a few things we've spoken about doing. The next one, hopefully, we're going to do a mini series on the Critters movies.
Oh, so, yes, that one's in the pipeline, yeah.
And you are going to do your own podcast soon.
Yeah, I've already decided what the first film will be. It's all going to be sort of more time-related stuff.
Yeah. So.
I want you on that.
We've discussed the film I haven't seen, and I'm quite excited to see this. We won't mention it yet, but I will put... follow me on the socials, and I'll keep you updated on what Ian's doing. But we'll probably be recording that in a few weeks, I reckon, won't we?
Oh, yeah, it'll be a few weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so, and what's the name of it going to be? Obviously, things aren't up yet, but...
It's, the name of the
podcast
channel, it's called Temprian. It kind of plays on temporal Ian.
Yeah,
Sort of thing, and it's just a bit of fun, but it's the one that I've settled. So.
Yeah, so that's time travel related, and it will start 2 weeks ago. No, I'm trying to make a time travel joke.
Oh, I see. Never mind.
Yeah, never mind. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Stick with us, and I'll be back in a sec to tell you what's coming up on Beyond the Graves and Stars. I've enjoyed looking back at those movies. Robert Englund, such a legend. Thanks to Ian and everybody else who's been on so far. Okay, so coming soon, I'm going to be looking at the Critters franchise, another series of movies from New Line. There's 5 of those films. I'm going to be doing an episode on each of the movies with a different guest for each one of those. Some returning and hopefully some new guests as well. I'm also going to be looking at a series of J horror movies chosen by Adam Wybray, who will be returning. And I'm hoping to look at some vampire related sequels, some straight to video sequels from the 90s and 2000s to start with. I'm going to hopefully be doing the sequel and prequels to From Dusk Till Dawn, as well as looking at the Lost Boys one, and I'd really like to do the sequel to John Carpenter's Vampires as well, and some more. So hopefully that'll be sort of a mini season coming soon, and also coming fairly soon. Hopefully, they're busy people, but I've got Vic and Jem from the Criminal Crack podcast coming up. Vic's been on already, and we're going to be looking at a horror movie that's based on real events. More news on that soon. Really looking forward to that. Until then, I've been Andy Martin, and I'll be back, as I say, very soon for more Beyond Graves and Stars. Please like, review, rate on your preferred platform. Reviews and 5-star ratings really do help spread the word, and hopefully we'll get more people talking about these movies. It's fun. I enjoy it. There's a nice little group of us so far. Anybody you know who you think will enjoy the show, please send it their way. And as ever, thanks for spending your time with me. And until next time, whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Hi, I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are childhood best friends with a true crime podcast called
The Criminal Crack. During each episode, one of us presents a true crime case to the other.
And the listener has no idea what the case will be.
So every reaction, question and twisted theory you hear is genuine and off the cuff.
So join us fortnightly on the platform of your choice.
And find us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok by searching @The Criminal Crack.
Bye-bye.
Keep on trucking.